Embarrassment crossed the warder's face. The wise ones managed to hide her going until nearly sunset, he said stiffly. Then they convinced me following would serve no purpose. They said even if I did, I could not find her until she was already on her way out. And she would not leave me then. I'm no longer certain I should have listened. Listened? Elaine snorted. Her gold and ivory bracelets clattered as she adjusted her shawl irritably. Trust a man to make himself sound reasonable. You would almost certainly have died and very likely killed her, too. Melaine and I had to hold him down half the night before he would listen, Amis said. Her small smile was a touch amused, a touch wry. Lance's face might as well have been carved from thunderclouds. No wonder that the wise ones had used the power on him. What was Moraine doing in there? Ruark, Rand said. How am I supposed to unite the Aiel? They don't even want to look at me. He raised his bare forearms for a moment. The dragon's scales glittered in the harsh sunlight. These say I am he who comes with the dawn. But everybody practically melted away as soon as I showed the things. It is one thing to know prophecy will be fulfilled, the clan chief said slowly. Another to see that fulfillment begun before your eyes. It is said you will make the clans one people again, as long ago. But we have fought one another almost as long as we have fought the rest of the world. And there is more for some of us. He will bind you together and destroy you. Ruark must have heard that too. And the other clan chiefs, and the wise ones, if they also had entered that forest of shining glass columns. If Moraine had not arranged a special vision for him. Does everyone see the same things inside those columns, Ruark? No, Elaine snapped, eyes like green steel. Be silent or send Arnaline and Matrim away. You must go too, Egwene. It is not permitted, Amis said, in a just slightly softer voice, to speak of what occurs within Rhuidean, except with those who have been there. A fraction softer, maybe. Even then, few speak of it, and seldom. I mean to change what is permitted and what isn't, Rand told them levelly. Become used to it. He caught Egwene muttering about him needing his ears boxed and grinned at her.
Hey, Bastion, how you doing, bro?
Too, since she
Hope
asked
you're doing
so
good.
nicely. She stuck her tongue out at him, then blushed when she realized what she had done. Change, Ruark said. You know he brings change, Amis.
Smoking one of these.
What change and how that
Two,
makes us
grab
like
one.
children alone in the dark. Since it must be, let it begin now. No two clan chiefs I have spoken with have seen through the exactly same eyes, Rand, or exactly the same things, until the sharing of water, and the meeting where the agreement of Rhuidean was made. Whether it is I do not know. I suspect it is. I think it is a matter of bloodline. I believe I saw through the eyes of my and you yours. Amis and the other wise ones glowered in grimly sullen silence. Matt and Egwene wore stares. Lan alone listened all. His eyes looked doubt and worry over Moraine. Rand felt a little strange himself, seeing through his ancestors' eyes. He had known for some time that Tamil Thor was not his real father.
Yeah, it's pretty much,
Found as a newborn on the slopes of
I guess you could say dabs. It's one of those, like you get at the dispo, the carts or disposables that are preloaded. Except for, this one is, 2-gram one.
His ancestors. Aiel. Then you saw Rhuidean just begun building too, he said. And the two Aes Sedai, you heard what one of them said? He will destroy you. I heard. Ruark looked resigned. The man who had learned his leg had to be cut off. I know. Rand changed the subject. What was the sharing of water? The clan chief's eyebrows lifted in surprise. You did not recognize it, but then I do not see why you should. You have not grown up with the histories. According
Till I
to
get the box that came in, I still have that.
the day the breaking of the world began until the day we first entered the threefold land, only one people did not attack us. One people allowed us water freely when it was needed. It took us long to discover who they were. That is done with now. The pledge of peace was destroyed. The tree killers spat in our faces. Kyrian, Rand said. You're talking
Hell
about
yeah,
Kyrian,
Bessie.
Lavender Aldera, and Laemon cutting down the tree.
That sounds like it'd be a tasty
His
one.
death or his punishment, Ruark said. The oath breakers are done with. He looked at Rand sideways. Some, such as Couladin, take it for proof we can trust no one who is not Aiel. That is a part of why he hates you. A part of it. He will take your face and blood for lies, or claim he does. Rand shook his head. Moraine sometimes talked of the complexity of age-race, the pattern of an age, woven by the wheel of time, from the thread of human lives.
There we go.
If the ancestors of the Carianan had not allowed the Aiel to have water 3,000 years ago, then Carian would never have been given the right to use the Silk Path across the waste. With a cutting from Avendasora for a pledge. No pledge, King Laemon would have had no tree to cut down. There would have been no war. He would have been on the side of Dragonmount, between two rivers. How many more points like that had there been, where a single decision one way or another affected the weave of the pattern for thousands of years? 1,000 times 1,000 tiny branching points. 1,000 times that many, all twitching the pattern into a different design. He himself was a walking branching point, and maybe Mat and Perrin too. What they did or did not do would be through the ages. He looked at Mat, hobbling up the slope with the aid of his spear, head down and eyes squinted in pain. The Creator could not have been thinking to set the future on the shoulders of 3 farm boys. I can't drop it. I have to carry the load, whatever the cost. At the Wise One's low, wall-less tents, the women ducked inside with murmurs about water and shade. They all but pulled as evidence of the throat. He not only obeyed, he did so silently. Rand started to follow, but Lan laid a hand on his shoulder. Did you see her in there? The warder asked. No, Lan. I'm sorry. I did not. She'll come out safe if anyone can. Lan grunted and took his hand away. Watch out for Couladin, Rand. I have seen his kind before. Ambition burns in his belly. He would sacrifice the world to achieve it. Unaligned speaks the truth, Ruark said. The dragons on your arms will not matter if you are dead before the clan chiefs learn of them. I will make sure some of Hiron's Jindo are always near you until we reach Cold Rocks. Even then, Couladin will probably try to make trouble, and the Shido at least will follow them. Perhaps Rudion said you would be raised by those not of the blood. Yet Couladin may not be the only one to see only a wetlander. I will try to watch my back, Rand said dryly. In the stories, when somebody fulfilled a prophecy, everyone cried, "Behold," or some such. And that was that, except for dealing with the villains. Real life did not seem to work that way. When they entered the tent, Mat was already seated on a gold-tasseled red cushion with his coat and shirt off. A woman in a cowled white robe had finished washing the blood from his face and was just beginning on his chest. Amis gripped a stone mortar between her knees and began some ointment with a pestle, while Bear and Siana had their heads together over herbs brewing in a pot of hot water. Melaine grimaced at Lan and Ruark, then fixed Rand with cool green eyes. "Stripped to the waist," she said curtly. "The cuts on your head do not seem too bad. But let me see what has you hunched over." She struck a small brass gong, and another white lady ducked in at the back of the tent, a steaming silver basin in her hands and cloths over her arm. Rand took a seat on a cushion, making himself sit up straight. "That's nothing to worry yourself about," he assured her. The second woman in white knelt gracefully by his side, and resisting his efforts to take the damp cloths she wrung out of the basin, began gently washing his face. He wondered who she was. She looked Aiel, but she certainly did not act it. Her gray eyes held a determined meekness. "It is an old injury," Egwene told the sun-haired wise one. "Moraine has never been able to heal it properly." The look she gave Rand said common courtesy should have made him tell as much. From the glances that passed among the wise ones, though, he thought she had said more than enough already. A wound Aes Sedai could not heal, that was a puzzle to them. Moraine seemed to know more about him than he knew about himself, and he had a hard time dealing with her. It would be much easier with the wise ones if they had to guess about him. Mat winced as Amis began rubbing her ointment into the slashes on his chest. If it felt anything like it smelled, Rand thought he had cause to wince. Bear shoved a silver cup at Mat. "Drink, young man. Dimson root and silverleaf will help your headaches if anything can." He did not hesitate before gulping it. A shudder and a twisted face followed. "Tastes like the inside of my boots." But he gave her a seated bow, formal enough for a tyrant, except for his being shirtless, and only spoiled a bit by his sudden grin. "I thank you, wise one, and I won't ask if you added anything just to give it that memorable taste." Bear and Sienna's soft laughter might have come because they had, or because they had not. But it seemed unusual, and Abbott found a way to come out. Even Elaine gave him a brief smile. Said, "If Couladin thinks to make different I need to jump ahead of him. How do I go about telling the other clan chiefs about me?" He shifted his dragon-twined arms. The white-robed woman at his side, cleaning the long gash in his hair now, deliberately avoided looking at them. "There is no set formality," Ruark said. "How could there be for a thing that will happen only once? When there must be a meeting between clan chiefs, there are places where something like the Peace of Rhuidean holds. The closest Cold Rocks, the closest Rhuidean, is Alcair Dam. You could show proofs to the clan and sept chiefs there." "Alcair Dam," Mat said, giving it a subtly different sound. "The Golden Bowl." Ruark nodded. "A round canyon, though there is nothing golden about it. There is a ledge at one end, and a man who stands there can be heard by anyone in the canyon without raising his voice." Rand frowned at the dragons on his forearms. He was not the only one to have been marked in some way in Rhuidean. Mat no longer spoke a few words of the old tongue now and then, without knowing what he was saying. He understood, since Rhuidean, though he did not appear to realize it. Egwene was watching that, thoughtfully. She had spent too much time with Aes Sedai. "Ruark, can you send messengers out to the clan chiefs?" he said. "How long will it take to ask them all to Alcair Dam? What will it take to make sure they come?" "Messengers will take weeks, and more weeks for everyone to gather." Ruark's gesture took in all four wise ones. "They can speak to every clan chief in his dreams in one night, to every sept chief, and every wise one, to make sure no man is just a dream." "I appreciate your confidence that we can move mountains, shade of my heart," Amis said wryly, settling herself beside Rand with her ointment. "But that does not make it so. It would take several nights to do what you suggest, with little rest in them." Rand caught her hand as she started to rub the sharp-smelling mixture on his cheek. "Will you do it?" Are you so eager to destroy us? She demanded. Then bit her lip vexedly as the white-cowled woman on Rand's other side started. Lelaine clapped her hands twice. Leave us, she said sharply, and the women in white bowed their way out with basins and cloths. You goad me like a needleworm next to the skin, Amis told Rand. Whatever they are told, those women will talk now of what they should not know. She pulled her hand free, began rubbing in the ointment with perhaps more energy than was necessary. It stung worse than it smelled. I do not mean to goad you, Rand said, but there is no time. The Forsaken are loose, Amis. And if they find out where I am, or what I plan... The Aiel women did not seem surprised. Had they known already? 9 still live. Too many. And those that don't want to kill me think they can use me. I have no time. If I knew a way to bring all the clan chiefs here now and make them accept me, I'd use it. What is it you plan? Amis's voice was as stony as her face. Will you tell the chiefs to come to Alcair Dal? For a long moment, she met his stare. Finally nodded, it was grudging. Begrudged or not, some of the tension went out of him. There was no way to win back 7 lost days, but perhaps he could avoid losing more. Moraine, still in Rhuidean, with Aviendha, held him here yet, though. He could not simply abandon her. You knew my mother, he said. Egwene leaned forward, as intent as he, and Mat shook his head. Amis's hand paused on his face. I knew her. Tell me about it, please. She shook his flash above his ear. You would not. Finally, she said, Shahil's story begins when I was still Father Eyes had ranged almost to the dragon altogether. One day we saw a woman, a golden-haired young wetlander in silks, with pack horses and a fine mare to ride. A man we would have killed, of course, but she had no weapon beyond a simple knife at her belt. Some wanted to run her back to the dragon wall naked. Egwene blinked. She seemed continually surprised at how hard the Aiel were. Amis continued without pause, yet she seemed to be searching determinedly for something. Curious, we followed, day by day, without letting her see. Her horses died, her food ran out, her water. But she did not turn back. She stumbled on afoot until finally she fell and could not rise. We decided to give her water and ask her story. She was near death, and it was a full day before she could speak. Her name was Shahil, Rand said, when she hesitated. Where was she from? Why did she come here? Shahil, Bear said, was the name she took for herself. She never gave another in the time I knew her. In the old tongue, it would mean the woman who is dedicated. Mat nodded agreement, not seeming to realize what he had done. Lan eyed him thoughtfully over a silver cup of water. There was a bitterness in Shahil in the beginning, she finished. Sitting back on her heels beside Rand, Amis nodded. She spoke of a child abandoned, a son she loved, a husband she hated. Where, she would not say. I do not think she ever forgave herself for leaving the child. She would tell little beyond what she had. It was for us she had been searching for Maidens of the Spear. An Aes Sedai called Jitara Moroso, who had the foretelling, had told her that disaster would befall her land, perhaps the world, unless she went to dwell among the Maidens of the Spear. No one of her going. She must become a maiden, and she could not return to her own land until the maidens had gone to Targon. She shook her head wonderingly. You must understand how it sounded then. The maidens go to Tarbakan. No Aiel had crossed the Dragon Wall since the day we first reached the Threefold Land. It would be another 4 years before Lehman's crime brought us into the wetlands. And certainly no one not Aiel had ever become a maiden of the spear. Some of us thought her mad from the sun. But she had a stubborn will. And somehow we found ourselves agreeing to let her try. Jitara Moroso. And Aes Sedai with the foretelling. Somewhere he had heard that name, but where? And he had a brother, a half-brother. Growing up, he had wondered what it would be like to have a brother or a sister. Who and where? But Amis was going on. Almost every girl dreams of becoming a maiden, and learns at least the rudiments of bow and spear, of fighting with hands and feet. Even so, those who take the final step and wed the spear discover they know nothing. It was harder for Shaeeda. The bow she knew well, but she had never run as far as a mile, or lived on what she could find. A 10-year-old girl could beat her, and she did not even know what plants indicate water. Yet she persevered. In a year, she had spoken her vows to the spear, become a maiden, adopted into the Chumai sect of the Tardad. And eventually, she had gone to Tarbalan with the maidens, to die on the slopes of Dragonland. Half an answer, and leaving new questions. If he could only have seen her face. You have something of her in your features, Siam said, as though reading his thoughts. She had settled herself cross-legged with a small silver cup of wine. Less of John Dweeb. John Dweeb. My father. Yes, Siam said. He was the Tardad, the youngest in the world. Yet he had a weight, a power. People listened to him and would follow him, even though he ended the conflict between Tardad and Nakai after 200 years, and made alliance not only with the Nakai, but with the Rain. And the Rain were not far short of blood feud. He very nearly ended the feud between Sharad and Goshin as well, and might have, had Lehman not cut down the tree. Young it was he who led the Tardad, the Rain and Sharad, to seek Lehman's blood price. Was. So he was dead now too. Egwene wore sympathy on her face. Bran ignored it. He did not want sympathy. How could he feel loss for people he had never known? Yet he did. How did Janduin die? The wise ones exchanged hesitant glances. At last, Amis said, "It was the beginning of the 3rd year of the search for Lehman, when Shaeil found herself with child. By the laws, she should have been killed last. A maiden is forbidden to carry the spear while she carries a child. But Janduin could forbid her nothing. Had she asked the moon on a necklace, he would have tried to give it to her. So she stayed. And in the last fight before Tarbalan, she was lost, and the child was lost. Janduin could not forgive himself for not making her obey the law. He gave up his place as clan chief, they said. No one had ever done that before. He was told it could not be done, but he simply walked away. He went north with the young men to hunt the Nurgle and the Blight. It is a thing wild young men do, and maidens with less sense than goats. Those who returned said he was killed by a man, though. They said Janduin claimed this man looked like Shaeil, and he would not raise his spear when the man ran him through. Dead then. Both dead. He would never lose his love for Tam, never stop thinking of him as father, but he wished he could have seen Janduin and Shaeil just once. Egwene tried to comfort him, of course, the way women did. There was no use trying to make her understand that what he had lost was something he had never had. For memories of parents, he had Tamil Thor's quiet laugh, and dimmer remembrance of Carial Thor's gentle hands. That was as much as any man could want or need. She seemed disappointed, even a little upset with him, and the wise ones appeared to share the feeling to one degree or another, from Bear's openly disapproving frown to Mullane's sniff and ostentatious shifting of her shawl. Women never understood. Ruark and Lan and Matt did. They left him alone, as he wanted. For some reason, he did not feel like eating when Mullane had food brought, so he went to lie at the edge of the tent with one of the cushions under his elbow, where he could watch the slope and the fog-shrouded city. The sun blasted the valley and the surrounding mountains, burning the shadows. The air that eddied into the tent seemed to come from an open oven. After a time, Matt came over wearing a clean shirt. He sat beside Rand without speaking, peering into the valley below, the strange spear propped on his knee. Now and again he felt the cursive script carved into the black haft. "How is your head?" Rand asked, and Matt jumped. "It doesn't hurt anymore." He jerked his fingers away from the carving, folded his hands deliberately in his lap. "Not as much, anyway. Whatever that was they mixed up, it did the trick." He fell silent again, and Rand let him. He didn't talk either. He could almost feel time passing, grains of sand in an hourglass dropping one by one ever so slowly. But everything seemed to tremble, too. The sands ready to explode in a torrent. Foolish. He was just being affected by the shimmering heat haze rising from the mountain's bare rock. The clan chiefs could not reach Alcair Dal one day sooner if Moraine appeared before him that instant. They were only a part, anyway, and maybe the least important part. A little while later, he noticed Lan squatting easily atop the same granite outcrop Couladin had used, paying no mind to the sun. The warder was watching the valley, too. Another man who did not want to talk. Rand refused a midday meal, too, though Egwene and the Wise Ones took turns trying to make him eat. They seemed to take his refusal calmly enough, but when he suggested returning to Rhuidean to look for Moraine, and Aviendha for that matter, Mullane exploded. "You fool, man. No man can go twice to Rhuidean. Even you would not come back alive. Go starve if you want to." She threw half a round loaf of bread at his head. Matt caught it out of the air and calmly began eating. "Why do you want me to live?" Rand asked her. "You know what that Aes Sedai said in front of Rhuidean. I will destroy you. Why aren't you plotting with Couladin to kill me?" Matt choked, and Egwene planted her fists on her hips, ready to lecture, but Rand kept his attention on Mullane. Instead of answering, she glared at him and left the tent. It was Bear who spoke. "Everyone thinks they know the prophecy of Rhuidean, but what they know is what Wise Ones and clan chiefs have told them. Not lies, but not the whole truth. The truth might break the strongest man." "What is the whole truth?" Rand insisted. She glanced at Matt and said, "In this case, the whole truth, the truth known only to Wise Ones and clan chiefs before this, is that you are our doom. Our doom and our salvation. Without you, no one of our people will live beyond the last battle. Perhaps not even until the last battle."
Hey, Grandpa, how you doing?
That is prophecy and truth.
What you doing up this late?
"With you, he shall spill out the blood of those who call themselves Aiel as water on sand, and he shall be as dried twigs. Yet the remnant of a remnant shall he save, and they shall live." A hard prophecy, but this has never been a gentle man. She met his gaze without flinching.
Hell yeah,
A hard
Grandpa.
man and a hard woman.
That's pretty much what I'm doing, just
He
chilling,
rolled back over and returned
Smoking
towards the
it.
valley. The
listening to
others laughed,
something.
except for Matt.
I'm not doing too
In the
bad.
mid-afternoon, he finally
Doing
spotted
okay,
her
I
climbing
guess.
the mountain, scrambling up wearily. Avienda. Matt had been right. She was bare as she was born, and showing some effects of the sun, too, Aiel or not. It was only her hands and face that were sun-darkened, and the rest of her looked decidedly red. He was glad to see her. She disliked him, but only because she thought he had mistreated Elaine. The simplest of motives. Not for prophecy or doom, not for the dragons on his arms, or because he was the dragon reborn. For a simple human
Thanks,
reason.
Grandpa.
He almost looked forward to those
Now I
cruel
got.
challenges.
Let's see if I can get this up here.
When she saw him, she froze. There was nothing cool in her blue-green eyes. Her gaze made the sun seem cold. He should have been burned to ash on the spot. Rand, Matt said quietly. I don't think I would turn my back.
There's Snoopy.
A tired sigh escaped him. Of course. If she had been into those glass columns, she knew. There, Melaine, the others, they had all had years to grow used to it. For Avienda, it was a fresh wound with no scab. No wonder she hates me now. The wise ones scurried out to meet Avienda, hurrying her away into another tent. The next time Rand saw her, she wore a bulky brown skirt and loose white blouse, with a shawl looped around her arms. She did not look very happy about the clothes. She saw him watching, and the fury on her face.
Yeah, Snoopy sleeps on the same bed.
Rage was enough to make him turn away.
Right now, he's in my
Shadows were
spot.
beginning to stretch to the far mountains by the time Moraine.
He's in my spot, nice and warm.
Staggering back.
So he has to move over to his side.
The sunburned as Avienda. He was startled to see she had no clothes on either. Women were crazy, that was all. Lan leaped from the stone outcrop and ran down to her. Scooping her into his arms, he ran back upslope, perhaps faster than he had descended, cursing and shouting for the wise ones by turns. Moraine's head lolled on his shoulder. The wise ones came out, Elaine physically barring his way when he tried to follow them into the tent. Lan was left stalking up and down outside, pounding a fist into his hand. Rand rolled onto his back and stared up at the low tent roof. 3 days saved. He should have felt glad Moraine and Avienda were back and safe. But his relief was all for days saved. Time was everything. He had to be able to choose his own ground. Maybe he still could.
Getting.
What are you going to do now?
Getting down a little bit.
Something you should like. I'm going to break the rules. I meant, are you going to get something to eat? Me, I'm hungry. In spite of himself,
right.
Rand laughed.
With his one up paw over the blanket.
He did not care.
Covered up the way he is.
Matt stared at him as if he were crazy. That only made him laugh harder.
Because once I get in there, he'll
Not
lay
crazy.
right up on me next to me for a little while. Then he'll eventually we're over facing the wall. And then he'll actually go down with his head underneath the covers.
Chapter 35. Sharp lessons.
Yeah, it's some. It's like a preloaded cart with some THC and oil, pretty much.
And beneath the great central
But it's a
dome,
2-gram one.
the pale floor stones. Only people were missing. The
Rechargeable
lamps were
and
not lit,
just
yet there was a sort of light,
instead of pushing a
sharp
button
as
and
a
hitting
sharp,
it, you just
seemed to come from
draw
everywhere
on it,
at once,
and
or
then it
nowhere.
pretty much
was
hits it.
often like that, indoors in Tel Riyadh. What she did not expect was the woman standing beyond the glittering crystal sword and peering off into the pallid shadows among the columns. The way she was dressed, bare feet, wide trousers of brocaded yellow silk. Above a darker yellow sash, she was quite bare, except for gold chains hanging around her neck. Tiny gold rings decorated her ears in sparkling rows, and, most startling of all, another pierced her nose, with a thin medallion-lined chain running from nose ring to one of the rings in her left ear. Elaine? Egwene gasped, gathering her shawl around her as though she were the one with no blouse.
It
She
comes in
felt
handy
herself the
because
wise one this time,
just the
for
way
no
they are,
particular reason.
if
The
you're in
daughter
like
heir leaped,
walking
and when
around
she came
Walmart,
down facing
you
Egwene,
just
she was wearing a demure gown of pale green with a high embroidered neck and long
it does have
sleeves
like
that
smell,
dangled
but doesn't
points
smell
over her
like you're
hands. No
you're
earrings,
smoking like
no
actual
necklace.
like you
It
rolled
is
up a
how
joint and
sleep
smoked it.
women dress at sea,
It
she
doesn't have
said
that type of
hurriedly,
smell of
with a
like dry
furious
flour
blush.
or.
I wanted to see how it felt, and this seemed the best option. I could do it on the ship after all.
Or even
How
like
does it
if
feel?
you're smoking
Egwene
wax, it doesn't have
asked
that smell.
curiously. Cool,
Pretty much people
actually.
just think
Elaine looked around at the
that you're
surrounding
hitting a
columns,
regular like
and it makes
nicotine
you feel people are
vape
staring
pen.
at you, even when there's no one there. Abruptly, she
Ooh, that
asked,
sucks, Grandpa.
"Poor Tom and Jewelin.
I know that
They do
feeling.
not know where to look most of the time. Half the crew are women." Studying the columns herself, Egwene
I got a
shrugged
couple bad
her
ones
shoulders.
too. Just
It did feel as if they were
yeah,
being watched.
my insurance
No
and
doubt
dentist
it was
don't get
just
along.
because they were the only people in the stone. No one who had access to Tel Run Riyadh could expect to find anyone to watch here. Tom? Tom Marilyn? And Jewelin Sandar? Are they with you? Oh, Egwene, Rand sent them. Rand and Lan. Well, Moiraine sent Tom, actually, but Rand sent Master Sandar to help us. Nynaeve is quite set up about it, about Lan, though of course she won't let on. Egwene smothered a small smile. Nynaeve was set up. Elaine's face was beaming, and her dress had changed again to a much lower neckline, apparently without her realizing it. The Terangrial twisted stone ring helped the daughter heir reach the world of dreams as easily as Egwene did, but it did not confer control. That had to be learned. Stray thoughts, such as how she might like to look for
Oh damn,
Rand,
Grandpa, that's
could
crazy.
still alter things for Elaine.
Yeah, mine are just
Elaine's voice was a strange blend of
broken
forced
teeth or
casualness and apprehension.
teeth that I've had
Well,
fillings put in that
Egwene said,
the dentist didn't do a good job, and the
She
fillings
made
have
it a full
broken the
report.
tooth. And
The portal
yeah,
stones and Roydian, as
my
much
teeth are
as she
pretty
knew
jacked
from
up.
what she'd
But
heard,
then again, when
what she had managed to
I guess I
infer
didn't
from
really
talk
take
of seeds
much
through
good care of my
ancestors'
teeth like I was
eyes,
supposed
the
to.
strange creature from the Dragon
So
Valley
now I'm
marked
actually
on
suffering
Rand's
for it.
forearms, Bear's revelation that he was the Aiel's doom, the summons of the clan
And
chiefs
dentists
to
are
Bear Dal.
expensive
Amis and
nowadays.
the other wise ones should be doing that even now. She fervently hoped they were. She even told the strange story of Rand's true parents in a shorter form. I don't know, though. He has been acting stranger than ever since, and Matt hardly less. I don't mean that he's mad, but he is as hard as Ruark or Lan, in some ways at least, maybe harder. He's planning something, I think. Something he doesn't mean anybody to know, and he's in a rush to
Right,
get
I
it.
definitely don't like the dentist, and
Sometimes I have the feeling
I
he
guess
doesn't
I
see people
have
anymore, only pieces
I guess
on
you call it
storyboard.
a slight phobia
Elaine
with
did not look
dentists.
worried, or
Just
not about
'cause
that, at any rate. He
I've
is
seen
what he is, Egwene.
a lot of different
A
horror
king or
movies
a
have to do with
general cannot
dentists.
always afford to see
So
evil. When a ruler has
yeah, I
to
have
do what
that
is right for a nation,
yeah,
there
that
are
little bit
times when some
feeling
will be hurt
I get
by
that
what is
yeah.
best for the whole. Rand is a
Makes
king,
me a little
Egwene, even if without
uncomfortable and
ambition,
antsy while I'm there.
care. And if he won't do anything that will hurt anyone, he will end by hurting everyone. Egwene sniffed. It might make sense, but she did not have to like it. People were people, and they had to be seen as people. There is more. Some of the wise ones can channel. I don't know how many, but I suspect more than a few. From what Amis tells me, they find every last woman who has the spark born in her. No Aiel women died trying to teach themselves to channel, while not even knowing what they were trying to do. There was no such thing as a wilder among the Aiel. Men who learned they could channel faced a grimmer fate. They went north to the Great Blight, and maybe beyond, to the Blasted Lands and Shaiol Ghul, going to kill the Dark One, they called it. None survived long enough to face madness. Avienda is one with the spark, it turns out. She'll be very strong, I think. Amis thinks so too. Avienda. Elaine said, wonderingly. Of course. I should have known. I felt the same kinship for Joreen on first sight that I did for her, and for you, for that matter. Joreen? Elaine grimaced. I promised I would keep her secret, and the first chance I get, I let my tongue run wild. Well, I don't suppose you will harm her or her sisters. Joreen is Windfinder on Wave Dancer. She can channel, and so can the other Windfinders. She glanced around them, and her neckline was suddenly back up under her chin. She adjusted her shawl that had not been there a moment before, covering her hair and shadowing her face. You mustn't tell anyone. Joreen is afraid the tower will try to force them to become Aes Sedai, or try to control them in some fashion. I promised I would do what I can not to let that happen. I won't tell, Egwene said slowly. Wise ones and Windfinders, women able to channel among both, and none who had taken the 3 oaths, bound by the oath rod. The oaths were supposed to make people trust Aes Sedai, or at least not fear their power, but Aes Sedai still had to move in secret as often as not. Wise ones, and Windfinders, she was willing to wager, had honored places in their societies, without being bound to supposedly make them safe. It was something to think on. Nynaeve and I are ahead of schedule too, Egwene. Joreen has been teaching me to work the weather. You would not believe the size of the flows of air she can weave. And between us, we've had Wave Dancer moving as fast as he ever has, and that is fast.
Oh yeah, Grandpa.
We should be in Tanchico in 2 days, maybe 2, according to Coeen. She's the sail mistress, the captain. 10 days from Tyr to Tanchico, perhaps. That is with stopping to talk with every Afa'an Mier ship we see. Egwene, the sea folk think Rand is their Coromor. They do? Coeen has some of what happened in Tyr wrong. She assumes the Aes Sedai serve Rand now, for one thing. Nynaeve and I thought it best not to put her straight about that. But as soon as she tells another sail mistress, they're all ready to spread the word and serve Rand. I believe they will do anything he asks of them. I wish the Aiel were so accepting, Egwene sighed. Ruach thinks some of them might refuse to acknowledge him, royally on dragons or no. One fellow, a man called Kuladin, I'm sure would kill him in a minute given half a chance. Elaine took a step forward. You will see that doesn't happen. It was not a question or a request. There was a sharp light in her blue eyes and a bared dagger in her hand.
No, I haven't, Grandpa. I ended up sending that one back.
Elaine seemed to see the dagger for the first time.
I got bored with that one.
The blade vanished.
It's a good game.
You must teach me whatever Alnis is teaching you.
I just kind of got bored.
It is disconcerting to have things appear and disappear, or suddenly realize I'm wearing different clothes. It just happens. I will, when I have time. She had been in Tel Run-Riog too long already. Elaine, if I'm not here when we are supposed to meet next, don't worry. I will try, but I may not be able to come. Be sure to tell Nynaeve. If I do not come, check every night thereafter. I won't be more than 1 or 2 late, I'm sure. If you say so, Elaine said doubtfully. It will surely take weeks to find out if Leandrin and the others are in Tanchico or not. Tom seems to think the city will be very...
Oh shit, hell yeah. Are you doing the career, have you done the career mode on that UFC, Grandpa?
Why did he do that, do you think? He said it will hold the Tyrants to him. As long as they know it's there, they have
the career mode of it's
maybe he knows
a good way to get a feel for the game.
I thought perhaps he was angry.
I've done a career mode on that several times.
Egwene frowned at her. This sudden diffidence was not like Elaine at all. Angry about what? Oh, nothing. It was just a thought. Egwene, I gave him 2 letters before leaving Tyr. Do you know how he took them? No, I don't.
I barely started it the first time.
Might have angered him? Of course not. Elaine laughed gaily. It's
yeah, UFC, I'm decent in that one.
Suddenly dark wool, stout enough for a hard winter. I would
I
have
think
to
I've
be a
done,
fool to write
as
things
far as
to make
career
you
mode, I think I've
angry.
done, let's see.
Her hair sprang up in all directions, like a crazy crown. She was not aware of it. I am trying to make him love me, after all. Just
I think I've done
trying
like
to make him love me.
4 or
Oh,
5
I
male
can't
characters.
lend
I do
him
one
Why do
each
they
weight
have to cause
class
such
on career
difficulties?
mode.
At least he's a
I think I've done a couple of the female ones on
The
career
woman
mode.
became silk again, cut even lower than before. Her hair made shimmers on her shoulders to shame the gown's sheen. She hesitated.
Actually went through and
wiggling
actually
her lower lip.
retired them.
Egwene, if you find the
Undefeated
chance,
with the belt.
would you tell him I meant what I said in Egwene?
Are you trying to make it look like you?
Something snatched Egwene. The heart of the stone dwindled into blackness, as if she were being hauled away by the scruff of her neck. With a gasp, Egwene started awake, heart pounding, staring up the low roof of the night-darkened tent over her head. Only a little moonlight crept in at the open sides. She lay under her blankets. The waste was as cold at night as it was hot during the day, and the brazier that exuded the sweetish smell of dried dung burning gave little warmth. Beneath her blankets, right where she had lain down to sleep. But what had pulled her back? Abruptly, she became aware of Amis, sitting cross-legged beside her, cloaked in shadows. The wise one's murk-shrouded
Right,
face
different like
seemed
games
as
that you
dark
could get
and
into like that.
foreboding
You
as
could
the night.
play
Did you do that, Amis? She said
multiple
angrily.
times on
You
different
have no
things.
right to just haul me about. I'm Aes Sedai of the Green Aja. The lie came easily to her lips now. And you have no
And that's what I like
Amis cut her off with a
Diablo
thin
and
voice.
Dragon Age.
Beyond the dragon hall, in the White Tower, you are Aes Sedai. Here you are an
But I might have to
ignorant
stream a little bit
a
UFC
fool
tomorrow.
child crawling through
Start a
den
new
of
character.
vipers. I know I said I would not go to Tel Iran Riyadh without you, Egwene said, trying to sound reasonable. But something seized her ankles, hauled her feet into the air. Blankets tumbled away. Her shift dropped to bunch in her armpits. Upside down, she hung with her face level with that of Amis.
The newest one, I
She
played
found
some of
herself
that.
beside her, and
Not as
found
much as I've
herself
played
You wanted to go off alone.
the first Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2.
You had to go. Her
Because,
eyes seemed
let's
to
see,
glow in the
Origins,
dark, brighter and brighter.
'cause I beat Origins with the expansion pack.
There are things
And
in
that one I
Origins
easily
to shatter
have
the
over
bravest heart.
a couple thousand hours on it.
Around eyes like blue
And
coals,
then
her
I've
face
almost
melted,
beat
stretched.
Dragon Age 2.
Scales sprouted where skin had been. Her jaws thrust
Inquisition.
out, lined with sharp teeth.
I play
eat
that
the
here and there.
bravest
It's
heart,
just,
she growled.
it's not the same.
Screaming,
It doesn't have the
Egwene
same
battered
feel as
vainly at the shield holding
as
her
say
from the
Dragon
true
Age
source.
2.
She tried to beat at that horrible
I like
force,
how it's
at the thing that could not be
pretty much
Amis.
open world,
Something
but
gripped her wrists, stretched her
other than that,
quivering in
I'm
midair. All
still
she
undecided
did
on
was
how I feel
shriek
about that game.
as those jaws closed around her face. Screaming, Egwene sat up, clutching at her blankets. With an effort, she managed to snap her mouth shut.
Which newest
She knew
one?
nothing about the shudders that racked her. She was in the tent, or was she?
The newest
There
one
was
is
Amis,
Dragon Age
cross-legged in the
Inquisition.
shadows, glowing with Saidar.
And that
Or
one
was
could
it
be,
she?
it's like one was,
Desperately,
you could
she
be
opened
different
herself to the
races.
source and nearly howled
Dragon
when
Age
she found the
2,
barrier again.
yeah, that
Tossing
was the
blankets
one that
aside,
was
she scrambled across
the
the
brother
room,
and
gloves on
sister, so you
hands
were
and
only able
knees,
to be a male,
scattered her
or a
neatly
human,
folded
should I say.
clothes with both hands. She had a belt knife. Where was it?
Yeah, 2.
There. Sit down.
Yeah, Dragon Age 2, the only choice you got
Before I
was
dose you for vapors and
male or
fidgets,
female,
you will not like the
and
taste.
of course you had your other
Egwene
character
twisted
classes, but
around
yeah, it
on
could only
her
be
knees,
male or
a short
female, and it
knife
was
held
human.
in both hands. They would have trembled if not clutched together.
Inquisition,
Is it really you
well,
this time?
that one I have several different
I am myself. Now
save
I'm
slots, 'cause I
also
have
them.
one that's a
Short
elf,
lessons are the best lessons.
one
You
that's
need to stab me.
human,
Hesitating,
one
Egwene
that's a
sheathed
dwarf.
the knife. You have no right to. I have every right. You gave me your word.
and one that's a
I did
Chronari.
not know Aes Sedai could lie. If I am to teach you,
Because
I must
Inquisition,
know
you could
will
pick
do
the
as I
different
say.
races again.
I will not watch a pupil of mine cut her own throat. Amis sighed. The glow around her vanished, and so did the barrier between Egwene and Saidar. I cannot shield you any longer. You are far stronger than I. In the one power you are. You very nearly battered down.
Yeah, the first one I
shield.
liked. That one I
If you
spent a
cannot
lot of
keep
time
your
on.
word, I do not know
They
what
had
one
that,
is.
and then the expansion pack with it,
I will keep my word.
or the
Amis.
expansion
I
to
promise
it
I
with
will.
another
But I
disc.
have to meet with my friends in
Maybe that one I
Tell
have a
I
lot of
promised
hours
them
involved in
too.
that one, but I
Amis,
actually
they might need my help, my advice.
completed it or finished this whole
Amis's
story.
face was not easy to make out in the darkness, but Egwene did not see any softening. Please, Amis, you've taught me so much already. I think I could find them wherever they
Inquisition,
are now.
like I
Please
said, that
don't
one I'm
stop
still
me when there is so
undecided
much
about.
yet for me to learn. Whatever you want me to
I
do,
played
will.
some on it,
Braid your hair, Amis said in a flat
but
tone.
yeah.
My hair?
That
Egwene
one I
said
could only play for
uncertainly.
so long before it
It
started
would
to
certainly be no inconvenience.
making me feel all
She wore it loose
like
now,
fucked up,
falling
feeling
below
like
her
sick
shoulders.
and nauseous
Yet
and
it was not that long
dizzy and
ago
all that
she'd
crap.
almost burst with pride on the day the women who kept her home had said she was old enough to put her hair in a braid, like the one Nynaeve still wore.
So
In the Two Rivers,
the
a braid said he was old
Dragon
enough to
Inquisition,
be
I'm going to
savable.
play for so
One
long.
over each ear.
But Skyrim
Amis's
was like that
voice
too.
was still like a flat rock.
Skyrim and
If
Inquisition,
you
I'm
have
going
no
to play
ribbon
for
to twine in
so
the
long
braids,
before
I will give you
before it starts
some.
making me feel all
That
messed
is
up.
how little girls wear their hair among us. Girls too young to be held to their word.
Right?
When you prove to me that you can keep yours, you can stop wearing it. But if you lie to me again, I will make you cut your skirts off short, like little girls' dresses, and find you a doll to carry. When you decide to behave as a woman, you will be treated as a woman. Agree to it, or I will teach you. I will agree if you will accompany me when I must meet. Agree, Aes Sedai. I do not bargain with children, or those who cannot keep their word. You will do as I say.
About the
except when I choose
22nd
to
of
give
this
and
month?
no more,
Nuh-uh.
or else
What's
go
the
off and
22nd
get
of
yourself
this
killed
month?
on your own. I will not eat it. Egwene was glad of the dark. It hid her skull. She had given her word, but this was all so unfair. No one was trying to hedge Rand around with silly rules. Well, perhaps he was different. She was not sure she wanted to trade Amis's edicts for Couladin's desiring to put a spear through her in any case. Mat would certainly not put up with other people's rules, yet, Taviran or not, Mat had nothing to learn. All he had to do was be. Very likely he would refuse to learn anything
What's that,
on
Grandpa?
chance, unless it had to do with gambling or raising food. She wanted to learn. Sometimes it seemed an unending thirst. However much she absorbed, she could not quench it. That still did not make it fair. Only the way things are, she thought ruefully. I agree, she said. I will do as you say, accept what you give, and no more. Good. After a long pause, as if waiting to see whether Egwene wanted to say more, she wisely held her tongue. Amis added, I mean to be hard on you, Egwene, but not without purpose. That you think I have taught you much already only shows how little you knew to begin. You have a strong talent for the dream. Very likely you will outstrip any of us by far one day. But if you do not learn what I can teach you, what we four can all teach you, you will never develop that talent fully. It is most likely you will not live long enough to
Oh shit.
I will try, Amis. She thought she managed a good
That's crazy,
approximation
Grandpa.
of meekness. Why did the woman not say what she wanted to hear? If Egwene could not go to Tell Runriad alone, then Amis had to come too when she next met Elaine. Or it might be Nynaeve next time. Good. Do you have anything else to say? No, Amis.
No shit, that's what it
pause
says.
was longer this time. Egwene waited as patiently as she could. So you can hold your demands inside when you
Hey,
wish,
Kayla, how you
Amis said
doing?
at last, even if it does make you twitch like a goat itch. Do I mistake the cause? I can give you an ointment. No? Very well.
Hope you're
I
doing
will
well.
accompany you when you must meet your friends. Thank you. Egwene said primly. A goat with an itch indeed. In case you did not listen when I first told you, learning will be neither easy nor short. You think
Hope everyone's doing good out there tonight.
days. Prepare to give real time and effort now. Amis, I will learn as much as you can teach me, and I will work as hard as you want. But between Rand and the Dark Friends, time to learn may turn out to be a luxury and my purse empty. I know, Amis said wearily. He troubles us already. Come, you have wasted enough time with your childishness. There is women's business to be discussed.
I'm just chilling before I go to bed, listening to a book and smoking.
For the first time, Egwene realized Moiraine's blankets were empty. She reached for her
You have a
dress,
good night
but
too,
Amis
Grandpa.
said, that will not be needed. We only go a short way.
Definitely appreciate it,
Throw a
bro.
blanket around your shoulders.
No problem, Kayla.
I have done a great deal of work for Rand al'Thor already, and I must do more.
We having my brothers when we do our lives, so
Shrugging a blanket
might as well
around
have
her
one here
doubtfully,
too.
Egwene followed the older woman into the night. It was cold. Skin turning to tight goosebumps, she hopped from barefoot to barefoot over stony ground that seemed little short of ice. After the heat of day, the night seemed as frigid as the heart of a two-rivered winter.
I'll
Her
be
breath
right
turned to
back,
thin mist
everyone.
in front of her mouth, absorbed immediately by the air. Cold or not, the air was still dry. At the rear of the Wise One's camp stood a small tent she had not seen before, low like the others, but staked tightly down all around. To her surprise, Amis began stripping off her clothes, then motioned her to do the same. Clenching her teeth to keep them from chattering, she followed Amis's example slowly. When the Aiel woman had shed down to her skin, she stood there just as if the night were not freezing, taking deep breaths and flailing herself with her arms before finally ducking inside. Egwene darted after her with alacrity. Damp heat hit her like a stick between the eyes. Sweat popped out of every pore. Moiraine was already there, and the other Wise Ones, and Aviendha, all bare-skinned and sweating, sitting around a large iron kettle full to the brim with sooty stones. Kettle and stones alike radiated heat. The Aes Sedai looked mostly recovered from her ordeal, though there was a tightness around her eyes that had not been there before. As Egwene was gingerly finding a place to sit, no layered rugs here, only rocky ground, Aviendha scooped a handful of water from a smaller kettle at her side and tossed it into the larger one. The water hissed to steam, leaving not even a damp spot on the stones. Aviendha had a sour look on her face. Egwene knew how she felt. Novices in the tower were also given chores. She was not sure if she hated scrubbing floors more than pots or the other way around. This task did not look nearly so onerous. We must discuss what to do about Rand al'Thor, Bear said when Amis was seated too. Egwene said, alarmed. He has the signs. He is the one you have been looking for. He is the one, Mylane said grimly, brushing long strands of red gold hair from her damp face. We must try to see that as many of our people as possible survive his coming. Just as importantly, Siana said, we must assure that he survives to fulfill the rest of the prophecy. Mylane glared at her, and Siana added in a patient tone,
Oh, Kayla.
None of us will
I'm still
survive.
just hitting this.
Ruark said he would set some of the Jindo for bodyguards, Egwene said slowly. Has he changed his mind? Amis shook her head. He has not. Rand al'Thor is in the Jindo tents with 100 men, and he wakes as well. But men often seem to be differently than we. Ruark will follow him, perhaps oppose him in decisions he thinks are wrong, but he will not try to guide. Do you think he needs guiding? Moiraine arched an eyebrow at that, but Egwene avoided. He has done what he had to without guidance so far. Rand al'Thor does not know all
Definitely,
the ways, Amis replied.
Definitely does have
There
a
are
good flavor. And then this, what I like about this is
determined chief or clan against him,
it's
make
actually
them
a
see
2
wet
gram
instead of he who comes with the dawn.
disposable.
My husband is a good man and a fine chief, but he is no peace talker, trained to guide angry men to ground their spears. We must have
Let's see.
someone close to
There
Randall
we go.
Thor who can whisper in his ear when he seems ready to step wrongly. She motioned Avienda to throw more water on the hot rocks. The younger woman complied.
I'm out here
with
holding it
sullen
upside down.
grace. And we must watch him, Mylane put in sharply. We must have some idea of what he means to do before he does it. The fulfillment of the prophecy of Rodion has begun. It cannot be hard.
No,
to
they're
shoot
actually,
forward one
we
way
got
or
a
another,
deal on them.
but I need
We
to
only,
see that
we
as
got them
many of
for
them will survive as is possible.
$30 a piece.
How that can be managed depends on what Randall Thor intends. Bear leaned on Egwene. She seemed to be all bone and sinew. You have known him from childhood. Will he confide in you?
So I thought that was a pretty
Egwene
good deal.
told her.
We
He
couldn't
does
pass
not
them up.
trust as he used to. She avoided looking at Moraine. Would she tell us if he did confide? Mylane demanded.
Right?
I raise no anger here.
And then this
Moraine
one is,
or Aes Sedai.
I'd say it's more of a hybrid with indica dominant.
We served Aes Sedai once, Bear said simply. We failed them then. Perhaps we are meant to serve again. Mylane flushed with obvious embarrassment.
Good flavor.
Moraine gave
My
no
brother's,
sign that she saw,
he has
or
the
she had heard
same one, but
Egwene's
his is
own words, for that matter.
strawberry
Except for that tightness around her eyes,
peach
she was
full.
calm as ice.
So it's pretty much like
I
a
will
strawberry
help as I
peach.
can, she said coolly.
It tastes
But
more
I have
like
little influence with
a
Randall.
melon.
For the present, he weaves the pattern to his own design. Then
And
we
that
must
one he
watch
has
him
is more of
closely
a,
and hope. Bear sighed.
gives you more of
Avienda,
a sativa
you
feel
will meet
to it.
Randall Thor when he wakes each day, and do not leave him until he goes
But
to
his food was the same thing.
You will stay
2
as close
grammar.
to him as the hair on his head. Your training must come as we can manage, I fear. It will be a burden on you doing both things, but it cannot be avoided. If you talk to him, and especially listen, you should have no trouble remaining near him. Few men will send away a pretty young woman who listens to them. Perhaps he will let something slip. Avienda grew stiffer by the word. When Bear spat, I will. Dead silence fell, and every eye swung to her. She started back, defiantly. Bear said softly. No. She seemed to be tasting words strange in her mouth. Avienda, Egwene said gently. No one is asking you to stay Elaine. If anything, the former maiden of the spear looked even more eager to find herself a weapon. Is this the discipline maidens learn now? Amis said sharply. If it is, you will find we teach you harder. If there is some reason you cannot stay near to Randall Thor, speak it. Avienda's defiance wilted a trifle, and she mumbled inaudibly.
Thanks, Caleb.
Amis's voice took on a
I think that's the only native one I have in here.
said, speak it.
I actually got that from my
I do
mom.
not like him. Avienda burst out.
There's another one over there I
I
need to
hate
get
him.
hold of,
Hate
but
him.
it's smaller than that.
She would have thought her
Doesn't
close
have
to
all the
tears.
fur lining, and it's a different picture painted on the
Surely
leather.
Avienda could not
That's actually hand painted, and that's
We
on
are not
top of
asking
a
you
pretty
to
much
love
leather.
him or take him to your bed, Sienna said acidly. We are telling you to listen to the man.
When I
and
get
you
that one, I have to
obey.
hang that one right next to it so everyone can see it.
Amis snorted. What kind of young
I might try to get it like right
reason
behind me if I can.
do none of you grow up? Bear and Mylane were even sharper, with the older woman threatening to tie Avienda on Rand's horse in place of his saddle. She sounded as if she meant it precisely, and Mylane suggesting that instead of sleep, Avienda should perhaps spend the night digging holes and filling them in to clear her head. The threats were not intended to coerce her, Egwene realized. These women expected and intended to be obeyed. And the flavor Avienda earned herself would be for being stubborn. That stubbornness seemed to be shrinking. With 4 sets of Wise One's eyes boring at her, she settled into more of a defensive crouch on her knees, but she was holding on. Egwene leaned over to put a hand on Avienda's shoulder. You've told me we are near sisters, and I think we are. Will you do it for me? Think of it as looking after him for Elaine. You can tell him she says she meant what she said in her letters. He will like hearing that. Avienda's face spasmed. I will do it, she said, slumping.
Oh yeah, it's just
I will
like hitting
watch you
dabs.
For Elaine. Amis shook herself. Foolish. You will watch him because we told you to, girl. If you think you have another reason, you will find you are painfully mistaken. More water. The steam is fading. Avienda hurled another handful onto the rocks.
They do, just gotta hit him enough.
Egwene was glad to see her spirit returning.
Or
But
get the right one, I guess.
When they were alone. Spirits were well, but there were some women, these 4 wise ones, for example, and Swan Sanche, with whom it was common sense to keep a check on their spirit.
Excuse me.
You could shout at the women
Yeah, this one gets you pretty good.
Doing what they wanted anyway, wishing you had kept your mouth shut. Now that is settled, Bear
Not
said,
as much if I actually
"Let us
took a
enjoy
dab,
the
but
steam in silence while
it
we
gets you
can.
pretty close to it.
There is much for some of us yet to do tonight, and for nights to come if we are to bring a gathering to Alcair Dal for Randall Thor.
Yeah, because depending on where you get them, there's a lot of counterfeit ones that run around.
Why should Randall Thor be different? Quiet settled over the tent except for the hiss when Avienda tossed more water on the hot rocks. The wise ones sat with hands on knees, breathing deeply. It was really quite pleasant, even relaxing.
No,
The damp heat,
that's pretty much what it came in.
cleansing feel of sweat on the skin. Egwene thought it was worth missing a little sleep.
It even has
Warren did not look
like a little
though. She
code
stared
I
at
can
the
scan
steaming kettle as if
to
seeing
check its
something
pretty
else
much authenticity.
far off. Was it bad? Egwene thought so as not to disturb the wise ones.
I've had one like that before. Different company.
Avienda looked up quickly but said nothing.
I scanned the code or that little code thingy,
Warren said, just as quietly.
and
She
actually
did
took
not
me
look
to their
away from her
website.
distant vision, and
So I was
her voice
actually able to
almost
find
chill
out
enough to take away the heat from the
that it was actually a real cart
Amongst already
from an
gone.
actual real
Some I knew
distributor.
already. Others
I was able to find out not only the name
wheel
of it, but
wheels as the wheel
pretty much what
wheels,
strain
and the
went
other
into
thread
it,
of the pattern. I have
the
given my
level,
life
the
to finding
THC,
the Dragon Reborn, finding Rand,
and pretty much
and
like the
seeing
price
him ready to
wise.
face the last battle. I will see that done.
Had
whatever
to
it
scan this
requires.
one too.
Nothing and no one can be more important than that.
Cause it has a place to go to.
Egwene closed her eyes. The Aes Sedai
Then
did
it
not
has
want
it
comforting.
like at the very bottom.
Of ice.
You able to scratch part of it
Egwene
off and
set
gave
herself to trying
I
to
guess it's an
recapture that
individual
pleasant
code for
feeling.
each one.
She suspected such would be few and far between in the days
Then
to
you
come.
can actually check, making sure you got one that's
Chapter
legit.
36. Misdirections.
Then you check the price so you can see how much
while the not yet risen sun
they're
still sharply
getting
silhouetted
for
the
versus
far
how much they
mountains.
charge you.
In 3 parties they wound around Jaendare, down onto rough flats broken by hills and tall stone spires and flat-topped buttes, gray and brown and every hue between, some streaked with long swirls and shades of red and ochre. Occasionally, a great natural arch loomed as they moved north and west, or strange, huge slabs of rock balanced improbably, forever on the brink of falling. Every way Rand looked, jagged mountains reared in the distance. All the wreckage and the breaking of the world seemed gathered here in the place where the hard ground was not cracked clay, the ground was something between. It was stony and stark, and everywhere split by dry gullies and hollows. The scattered vegetation was sparse and low, thorny bushes and leafless things with spines. The few blossoms, white or red or yellow, were startling in their isolation. Occasionally, stretches of tough grass covered the ground, and rarely there was a stunted tree also likely to have thorns or spines. Compared to Jaendare and the valley of Rhuidean, it almost looked lush. The air was so clear, the land so bare, it seemed Rand could see for miles and miles. That air was no less dry, though, the heat no less relentless. With the sun a lump of molten gold high in a cloudless sky.
Alright, too bad you don't
Rand
live
wrapped a
closer.
shuba around his head
Be able
and
to
keep
get you
the
one.
sun off, and drank from the water bag on Djadin's saddle frequently. Oddly, wearing his coat seemed to help. He did not sweat any less, but his shirt stayed damp beneath the red wool, cooling him somewhat. Matt used a strip of cloth to tie a large white kerchief atop his head, like some odd cap that hung down the back of his neck. And he kept shading his eyes against the glare. He carried the raven-marked sword spear like a lens, the butt tucked into his stirrup. 400 or so Jindo comprised their party. Rand and Matt rode at the front alongside Ruark and Iron. The Aiel walked, of course, their tents and some of the booty from Tyr on pack mules and horses.
Hey, Cosmic Comic, how you
A number
doing?
of the Jindo maidens,
Cosmic
family-headed
Comic.
scouts, and stone dogs trailed behind.
Hope you're
as
doing
rear,
well.
with the main column hedged by watchful eyes, ready spears, and bows with arrows knocked. Supposedly the peace of Rudian
That's good.
extended until those who had gone to Teander returned to their own homes. As Ruark explained to Rand, mistakes had been known to happen.
I'm not doing too bad.
Apologies and blood price did not
Can't
bring
complain.
the dead out of their graves. Ruark seemed to think a mistake especially likely this time. Certainly in part because of the Shido party. The lands of the Shido clan lay beyond those of the Jindo's Tardat, in the same direction from Jayander, and they paralleled the Jindo some quarter of a mile distant.
Just chilling, listening to a book, and smoking before I head to
should
bed.
have waited another day for his brother to return. That Rand had seen Muradin after he had plucked out his own
Oh,
eyes
has
made
it?
no difference. 10 days was the time allotted. To leave sooner was to abandon whoever had entered Rudian. Yet Couladin had set the Shido to folding their tents as soon as he saw the Jindo pack animals being loaded. The Shido moved along now with their own scouts in rear guard, seemingly ignoring the Jindo.
It's always good to have a
The
little
space
time.
between never widened much beyond 300 paces. It was usual to have witnesses,
Oh
or
shit.
perhaps half a
That
dozen of the
sucks.
larger septs, when a man
It's always
sought
good to
muck
do
in the
something for
Banshee,
yourself once in a while.
And Couladin's people outnumbered the Jindo by
Everybody
at least
needs
2
to
to
do
1.
that once in a while.
Rand
It keeps
suspected
you,
that the third party,
somewhat
halfway
sane.
between Shido and Tardat,
At least it does me.
was the reason the interval did not narrow suddenly and violently. The wise ones walked just like all the other Aiel, including those strange white-robed men and women Ruark called Gaishain,
Alright.
who led their pack horses.
That it
Not
is.
servants, exactly, but Rand was unsure he really understood Ruark's explanation about honor and obligation and captives. Iron had been even more confusing, as though making an effort to explain why water was
Right.
wet. Moraine, Egwene, and Lan rode with the wise ones, or at least the 2 women did. The warder had his warhorse a little off on the side of the Shido, watching them as closely as he did the
Definitely
rugged
know that
landscape. Sometimes Moraine or Egwene or both got down to walk a while, talking with the wise ones. Rand would have given his last penny to hear what they said. They looked in his direction often, quick glances that he was doubtless not supposed to notice. For some reason, Egwene was wearing her hair in 2 braids, plaited with lengths of red ribbon like a bride's. He did not know why. He had commented on them before leaving Jayander, just mentioned them, and she nearly took his head off.
Alright, Cosmic Cotton.
Elaine
Comment.
is the woman for you. He looked down at Avienda in confusion. The challenging look was back in her blue-green eyes, but still layered atop stark dislike. She had been waiting outside the tent when he awoke that morning, and had not strayed more than 3 paces from him since. Clearly the wise ones had sent her to spy, and clearly he was not supposed to realize it. She was pretty, and he was assumed to be fool enough not to see beyond that. No doubt that was the real reason she was.
I'm definitely glad I could inspire you.
Beyond a small belt knife. Women seem to think men were simple-minded. Come to think of it, none of the other
all over on
commented
it.
at her change of clothes.
On the walls. Different
But even
ones.
Ruark avoided looking at her for too long. Probably they knew why she was there, or had some inkling of the wise one's plan, and did not want to speak of it.
Nice.
Rudian.
That's pretty glad I can inspire you something that relaxes you.
Roark wondered about women's business, plainly reluctant to discuss it around her. Considering the way she clung to Rand's side, that meant not discussing it at all. The clan chief was certainly listening.
Let's see if I can show you too.
Every Jindo in earshot. It was hard to tell with Aiel sometimes, but he thought they looked amused. Rand was whistling softly, ostentatiously, looking at anything but the two of them. Even so, this was the first time all day she had spoken to him.
And then,
What do you mean?
well, there's my boy Snoopy.
Hinder her, walking along beside Yaden. No, not walking. Stalking. If she were a cat, she would be lashing her tail. Elaine is a wetlander, your own kind. She tossed her head arrogantly. The short tail that Aiel warriors wore at the nape of the neck was missing.
And he's keeping
temples,
my side of the bed warm right now.
Exactly the woman for you.
Before he has to scoot over to his side.
Her back is straight, her limbs supple and strong, her lips like plump love apples. Her hair is spun gold, her eyes blue sapphires. Her skin is smoother than the finest silk, her bosom fine and well.
Oh, just a little bit.
Her hips are. He cut her off frantically, his cheeks heating. I know.
Nice cosmic comment.
I am describing.
Yeah, like I say, he sits right next to me.
Have you seen her in her bed?
He has his own pillow on his side.
For me to describe her, if you have seen, I have not seen.
He
wished he did not sound strangled.
Yeah, but he has those how his face is with the spots on him. He has that all over his body.
Roguish grin. The woman only shrugged and rearranged her shawl.
He's a German Shepherd and Blue Heeler.
But I have seen her, and I will act as her near sister. The emphasis seemed to say,
but he definitely helps out a lot.
Aiel customs were strange, but this was mad. Her hips, stop that! She gave him a sideways glare. She is the woman for you. Elaine laid her heart at your feet for a bridal wreath. Do you think there was anyone in the
Then if I were ever able to get a close up on him,
talk about Elaine.
His eyelashes are actually white too.
The thought made his face go hot again. The woman did not seem to care what she said or who heard. You do well to blush, putting her aside when she has bared her heart to you. Avienda's voice was hard and contemptuous. 2 letters she wrote, bearing all as if she had stripped herself beneath your mother's roof. You entice her into corners for kisses, then reject her. She meant every word of those letters, Randolph Thor. Egwene told her she meant every word. What do you mean toward her, wetlander? Rand scrubbed a hand through his hair, had to rearrange his shutha.
But I got hand from
in both letters.
The local shelter we have here.
One contradicted the other nearly point for point. Suddenly he gave.
I think he does. And I got him from it was a local shelter here. Here it is, almost a year old. I think I've had him for. I have to check the paper. I actually still have all the paperwork that I had to fill out for him.
Well,
but I think I've had him 3 years, maybe 4 years now.
Well, she had called him sheep herder a few times, but he felt comfortable around her.
Them the coloring, well, at least the spots are from the Blue Heeler.
Like Elaine and Avienda.
Just the Blue Heelers had those spots. They just have a darker gray, so it's harder to see them spots.
Such was possible. Muttering to herself,
yeah, I saved them.
Along as though she wanted to trample something. She adjusted and readjusted her shawl 6 times.
I saved him and he saved me.
Faded away. Instead, she began staring at him like a vulture. He could not see how she did not trip and fall on her face. Why are you looking at me like that?
Yes, we're talking about you.
I am listening, Randolph Thor, since you wish me to be silent. She smiled around gritted teeth. Do you not enjoy having me listen to you?
Right, definitely sucks having to leave him. Actually, let me move this blanket a little bit, see if I can't get a full view of him.
Rand tried to set himself to considering what lay ahead, but it was difficult with the woman's eyes on him. pretty eyes if they had not been full of spite. But he did wish he would look at something else.
Let's see.
Shading his eyes against the sun's glare, Matt did his best to avoid looking at Rand and the Aiel woman striding along between their horses. He could not understand why Rand put up with her.
There we
Javiera
go.
was pretty enough to be sure. I wondered
got
as
to
pretty,
back up.
especially now
There
she
you
wore
go.
a semblance of proper clothes. But with a viper for a tongue and a temper to make Nynaeve look meek. He was just glad Rand was stuck with her and not him. He pulled the kerchief from his head and wiped the sweat off of his face, then tied it back. The heat and the eternal sun in his eyes were beginning to get to him. Was there no such thing as shade?
Yeah, he usually's like that whenever he finally comes to bed for the night.
He had refused healing the night before when Moraine awakened him after he had finally gotten to sleep. A few cuts were a small price to avoid having the power used on you. And the wise ones.
But I think I made a good choice when I picked him. Because when I picked him, well, he wasn't exactly the first one I had tried getting from the shelter.
And he had no intention of telling
There's a
her
couple
until he
other
understood
ones
himself.
before him that I tried.
He did not even want to
And
think of it.
I went and let them know because they don't go back there with you. The one down here, some of the workers are pretty lazy. But I had to go tell them what I wanted. And the first one they said no, that he's not either he's not ready or he's not adoptable. And I went look at some more, found one.
Except of course that she could channel.
And yeah, that one was I think a bull terrier, like those Spud McKenzie dogs. I went and told them, they said no. And then I found him. It was him and his sister.
I've done with those snake folks.
They were there.
Yeah,
because it was,
this bloody
yeah, it was him and the female, which was the sister. She was more brownish.
He could go.
But I picked him because when I went up to the cage, like, to get him to see if they'd come over to me, she didn't. He right away ran up to the fence and like pretty much popped on and started licking my hand and whatnot. So I looked at the number on the cage. I told them which one, and they said yeah, that he's actually adoptable. So I said I'll take him. I filled out the paperwork, and I picked him the next day because the shelters here, before you get the dog, they actually neuter him. So he got fixed, and then they chipped him too. So I had to pick him up the next day after that procedure was done. And I've had him since. And this thing is like 3-4 years now. Give me 1 second, everyone.
Corinna was one of those who had talked him into trying Maiden's Kiss. She had collected the first forfeit. It was not that he did not want to meet her eyes, certainly not that he could not. Keeping your horse free of burrs and the like was important. Peddlers, Ruark announced, when Dorinda sprinted off the way she had come. Peddlers' wagons, heading in this direction. He did not sound pleased. Matt brightened considerably, though. A peddler might be just the thing. If the fellow knew the way in, he knew the way out. He wondered if Rand suspected what he was thinking. The man had gone as blank-faced as any of the Aiel. The Aiel picked up their pace a little. Couladin's people imitated the Jindo and the Wise One's party with hardly a hesitation. Their own scouts had probably brought word, too. A quick enough step that the horses had to maintain a brisk walk. The sun did not bother the Aiel at all, not even the Gaishain in their white robes. They flowed over the broken ground. Less than 2 miles brought the wagons in sight, 12.5 of them strung out in a line. All showed the wear of hard travel, with spare wheels lashed everywhere. Despite a coat of yellow dust, the first 2 looked like white-painted boxes on wheels, or little houses, complete with wooden steps at the back and a metal stove chimney sticking through the roof. The last 3, drawn by 20 mule hitches, appeared no more than huge barrels, also white, doubtless full of water. Those in between could have done for peddlers' wagons in the two rivers, with high, stout-spoked wheels and clanking clusters of pots and things and big net bags, tied all along the tall, round canvas covers.
I don't know. I think she did because she was a pretty looking dog too.
A heavy man in a pale
And if I remember, I think she was more long haired than he was.
down from the back of the lead wagon and stood watching, now and then taking off his flat brown hat and wipe his forehead with a large white handkerchief.
Because his sister had
maybe 1,500 Aiels sweeping toward him. Matt could not blame
more
him.
of a shepherd look to her than
The strange thing was
he
the
did.
expression on the Aiel nearest
he
Matt.
still has it, but
Ruark, trotting ahead
with
of Rand's
him
horse
having the being
red
white with the
iron
spots, he
door,
has the healer look to him too.
I don't understand, Matt said.
But she
You think
was
you're gonna kill somebody. That would
a little
certainly
bit
put
smaller
anything
than
in
what
his
he
hopes.
was,
I thought
but
there were
she had,
two
like,
kinds of people you Aiels
brownish,
throw out here in the
like
waste.
reddish type of
Peddlers,
hair.
gleemen,
And
and
it
the
was,
traveling
like I
people.
said, it was long hair.
Peddlers and gleemen are welcome, I replied curtly. If this was a welcome, Matt did not want to see Aiel being unwelcoming. What about the traveling people? He asked curiously. When Iron kept silent, he added, Tinkers? The Tuatha?
Yeah, because when it, yeah, like I said, because he was the third one. When they would have said that he wasn't available, I was already at the point to where I was already getting aggravated. If they would have said that he wasn't available, I was about to say, you know what, just screw it. I'm not going to get the dog and just bounce out. But they said, yeah. I said, okay, I'll take him.
Why would tinkers be a touchy subject? Looks to me like they're being touchy enough about this peddler. Peddler? I can remember merchants who came to Emmons Field with fewer wagons. He came into the waste, Rand chuckled. John tossed his head and danced a few steps. I wonder if he will leave it again. Rand's twisted grin did not reach his eyes. Sometimes Matt almost wished Rand would decide whether he was mad or not and get it over with.
Right, they definitely make it hard and difficult for it.
300 paces short of the wagon, Ruark signaled to halt, and he and Iron went on alone.
But yet they want
At least, that seemed to
more
make
people
sense.
to adopt out like
He
that.
led Dapple Stallion after them,
But they
and the
make
everyday
it
bodyguard of 100 Jindo
they
followed.
definitely make it difficult
And
sometimes.
Avienda, of course, keeping close as though tied to Rand's
I think
horse. Matt
When I
knew
got
right
him,
then,
I think I had to pay,
if Ruark sent this fellow packing,
I think it was like
he'd not
50,
need to miss
60
his
bucks
chance to
for
go
him.
alone. Couladin came trotting out from the Shido, alone. Perhaps he meant to do as Ruark and Iron had intended.
But I guess that
Matt
money
suspected
went
the
towards,
man was
like,
pointing out that he went
since
alone, where
they
Rand
fix him,
needed 100 guards.
I guess it goes towards that, and
At first it seemed
them,
Moraine was
chipping
coming
him.
too,
because he
but
got
word
snipped
passed
and
between
chipped.
Wise Ones and her, and they all stayed where they were. Watching, though. The Aes Sedai dismounted, playing with some that sparkled, and Egwene and the Wise Ones clustered around her. Despite his face mopping, the big gray-coated fellow did not appear.
And then they gave me
although he
I
jumped
forgot
from
to, they
trees
gave me
and
a free
suddenly rose out of the
certificate
ground,
for
encircling his wagons.
to get his first
The
rabies
wagon
shots.
drivers, hard-faced men with more than enough scars and broken noses to go around, looked ready to crawl under their seats.
That's about the only
They
one
were
he's
tough
had.
alley dogs compared to Aiel wolves. The peddler recovered right away. He was not fat for all his size. That heaviness was muscle. Rand and Matt on their horses earned his curious glances, but he singled out Ruark at once. His hooked beak of a
But he's
nose
smart
and
as shit,
dark,
too.
tilted eyes
That's
gave
what
his square,
surprised
swarthy
me.
face a predatory look, not lessened when he put on a wide smile and swept his broad-brimmed hat off in a bow. I am Hadnan Kadir, he said. Peddler. I seek Cold Rock's hold.
Right, definitely
sirs,
saves him.
but I will trade with one and all. I have many fine... Ruark cut him off like an icy knife. You head well away from Cold Rocks or any hold. How is it you have come this far from the Dragon Wall without acquiring a guide? I do not really know, good sir. Kadir did not lose his smile, but the corners of his mouth tightened a trifle. I have traveled openly This is my first visit to the Threefold Land so far south. I thought perhaps here there are no guides. Bulletin snorted loudly, twirled one of his spears lazily. Kadir hunched his shoulders as if he felt steel sliding into his thick body already. There are always guides, Rourke said coldly. You have luck to have come so far without one. Luck that you are not dead or walking back to the Dragon Wall in your skin. Kadir flashed an uneasy, toothy smile, and the clan chief went on. Luck to meet us. Had you continued this way another day or two.
Oh, trust me, I was able to have more. I would. But we already got,
He stopped to swallow.
between me and my brother, we got 4 dogs.
You must believe
2 big
I would
ones
not do
and
such a thing
2
deliberately,
small ones.
nor by accident.
Because my small one's hard to get him on the camera because
My words for truth, good
he's
sir. I
free
would not.
back on the bed
That is
underneath the
well,
blanket.
the penalties are
Good.
severe.
Yeah, I would have had another one if I was able to, and mainly because
It would not do for you to become
when my
lost.
brother
The Threefold
got
Land
Dobby,
can be a dangerous place for those who do not know it. Bulletin's head
he was talking to the owner on Facebook,
he said in a sharp
and he
voice.
already
The Shido
agreed to
are
buy
more
him.
numerous here, Rourke. By
They
custom,
set
he
up
travels
a time
with
for
me.
like the next day,
Have you become a clan chief?
but
when I
since
did
she
not
had
see
them
you?
like all the puppies outside,
Fire
she didn't
and
really have a place
Shido
for
flushed,
inside.
Rourke showed no hint of
We got a
satisfaction.
real bad
Only went on in that level
pour
voice.
down that
Peddler
night.
seeks cold rocks.
She ended up taking him to the shelter. They had
The
like a
Shido with you
little
have
drop-off
proven
cage
to
that you could drop
The
him in
Toggle
there.
are not so
And that's what
starved
she
for
did,
vengeance
and
that we try to
she
keep
let my
to
brother
ourselves.
because he already had one
Bulletin's
picked
face
out,
went even darker,
everything.
yet he moderated his tone.
But she
Even if
let
he did
my
breathe
brother
the
know,
effort.
and he went over
I'm
there and
kept near Cold Rocks.
got Dobby.
He who comes with a dog
But
concerns all.
If I was able to have another one, I would have had him get me one too,
The Shido will have their proper
just
place.
because
The
all the
Shido,
other
too,
puppies that were in there
will
looked
follow
pretty
he
cool.
who
Had
comes
a,
with the dawn.
yeah, they're
Yet
pretty
not
cool looking puppies with
realized
the nice little color
acknowledged
patterns.
That was Rand. Hearing at the wagon, Rand did not seem to be listening.
So yeah, I would have had
Ruark
another
was
one.
silent a moment. The Shido will
I-
be welcome guests in the land.
I
of the
say
Toggle.
that, but then again, I've seen
You
how
beg them to follow. He who
how
comes
big
with the
Dobby's
dawn.
gotten, and yeah,
That could be taken 2 ways as well.
I bet definitely be full. That
He
and
had been mopping his face all this time, likely seeing himself in the middle of a battle between Aiel.
dog
He
food.
punctuated Rourke's
These the
invitation
2
with a
big
heavy sigh of
ones
relief.
definitely go
Thank
through
you, good sirs.
a
Thank
lot
you.
of food.
Probably for not killing him.
I think almost
Perhaps you would care to see what my wagons
like
have to
2
offer.
40-pound bags
Some
of
special
dog food
thing
a
you
month.
might like. Later.
Maybe I
Rourke
think
said,
no, actually I think they're a 50-pound
"We'll
dog
stop
food.
at
So
Imre
pretty
Stand
much
for the night."
100 pounds
You
of
may
dog
show
food
your
a month
ways then.
between the 2 of them.
Bulletin was already striding away, having heard the name of Imre Stand.
Because we had to feed them separately.
Kadir started to put his hat back on. A hat, Matt said, reining Pips closer to the peddler. If he had to remain in the waist a bit longer, at least he could keep that bloody sun out of his eyes.
Oh
Not with a
damn,
gold mark
that's
for a hat
crazy,
like that.
Caleb.
Done.
I thought we were struggling
Called the woman's
trying to
hustle
get
gave
100
Lily
pounds of dog food a
words.
month, like, cause we buy the
Matt looked
50-pound
around
bags
and
when
gave
we
a start.
get the extra cash.
The only woman in
But
sight
yeah.
beside Avienda and the maidens was walking.
I
out
thought
in the
that was
second
bad,
body,
but damn,
but she certainly did
that
not
in just a
match that
week?
voice.
or in 2
One
weeks,
of the loveliest
that's
he had ever
crazy.
heard. Rand frowned at her and shook his head, and he had cause. A foot shorter than Kadir, she must have weighed as much or more. Rolls of fat
Oh, damn,
really hid her dark
2
eyes,
big bags every 2 weeks.
disguising whether they were
Damn.
choking or not. But her nose was a hatchet.
Yeah,
that
that's
dwarfed
crazy.
the peddler's.
That's a lot of dog
In a
food.
dress of pale cream silk, stretched tight around her bulk, with a white lace shawl, held above her head and elaborate ivory combs, thrust into long, coarse black hair, she moved with incongruous lightness, almost like one of the maidens. A good offer, she said in those musical tones. I am Kali Chaugi, peddler. She snatched the hat away from Kadir and thrust it up at Matt. Stout, good sir, that nearly moved. You'll need a dog to survive the threefold land. Here, a man can die.
These dogs are the ones small.
Like so. Her sudden laugh had the same throaty, caressing quality for a woman. A gold bark.
And what's funny about the
When he hesitated,
me and my brother
her
both have a
eyes
big and
glittered
small
black.
dog.
I
And
see
he has
you,
Dobby, then his other dog's Damien. So he has both his dogs are like,
Kadir made
like
no
tan
protest,
and brown.
no slightest grimace.
and then
Kali was his
the
partner.
two I got, because I
There
got
was no
Snoopy,
doubt who was the senior.
and I got the dog that my aunt gave me. It was her old dog, but he's white and yeah, because he's
She bit the he handed her
Shih
before
Tzu.
releasing the hat.
and then
For a wonder,
Yeah.
it fit.
Snoopy.
And if it was no
But both
cooler
my
than
dogs
the
are white,
at
and
least it was blessedly shady.
my brother's
The
dogs are
captive
both
went into his coat pocket.
tan,
Anything for the rest of you?
or like
The stout
khaki
woman ran
color.
by over the Aiel, murmuring, "What a pretty child, Wabienda," with a baring of teeth that might have been a smile. To Rand, she said sweetly, "And you, good sir?"
Oh yeah, it's almost
Boy,
2:30.
coming out of that face was truly
Oh, shit.
charming, especially
I
when
guess,
it took on this funny tone.
Right,
Something
Kayla.
to shelter you from this desperate
I'm
life.
probably gonna be getting off for now.
Turning Gyaden, so he
Try to
could
get
hear
some
quiet
sleep.
Robert,
I didn't realize it
Rand
was
shook his head.
after 2 like it
That
was.
shit around his face, he really did look like an onion.
Well, I want to thank everyone for stopping by,
Tonight, Kanye,
and everyone who keeps coming back
we
and
open
chilling.
trade tonight at a place called Imre Stand. Doing.
Oh, the little black one
For a
and the
long
little
moment,
like
she peered at the Shido colony,
brown puff ball.
and at the wise
Them
one's
two are in my
body for a
brother's
moment.
room.
Abruptly, she turned for her own wagon.
He
saying
takes
over
care of
her
them
shoulder
at
to
night.
Amanda, "Then why are you keeping these
Appreciate
good
you
sirs
stopping by, Kayla.
Move,
Appreciate everyone stopping
Katia,
by,
move."
and appreciate everyone's
Rand
support.
stared after
Till
her,
next time, everyone.
shaking his
Stay
head again.
safe out there.
There was a gleeman back by her wagon.